Have you ever felt like you explained something perfectly and still got a giant blank wall staring back at you? Today, we're going to fix that. So here's the whole payoff in 4 words. Salespeople tell, stories sell. Facts can make sense. A story makes the point stick to your brain like gum under a desk. And good news, you don't need a film degree, a cape, or a 3-hour podcast. There are 7 basic plots. 7. So pick the one your point needs, tell it cleanly, and then move the room. So dragon, shark, really bad quarter, strip away the costume and they have the same skeleton, right? Somebody wants something, somebody gets in the way, something gets in the way, and somebody has to change. And that something in the way is the problem, right? So no problem, no pressure, no story. And so think of one story that changed you. You know, a movie, a book, a customer story, anything. Got it? So hold on to it. Notice how you remember how it made you feel, not every single plot point. And that's different. Your brain is already scanning that story, not every detail, for 2 things. Well, there's only 2 things your brain looks for. And it's what happened and who changed. What happened and who changed. So plot is the outside movie, transformation is the inside movie. The inside movie is why anybody cares. Okay? But the transformation needs a person. Somebody has to sit in this chair and feel the pressure. Otherwise, we have a bunch of events, not a story. And the tension is what earns the transformation. So tension earns transformation. If the pressure feels fake or the change feels fake, nobody gets a 6-pack from one sit-up. Okay, so there's 7 plots, 7 doors. You do not need all 7. You just need the right door for your point. And don't memorize these yet. Okay, each door creates a different emotional payoff. So once you know the feeling that you need, choosing the door gets much easier. Okay? So patterns help your brain file 3 things. It's what to expect, where the surprise lands, and what does it mean. So a king, a fancy guy in a top hat, and a regular dude can all want the same thing, right? But the clothes change, but the human stuff inside does not. So here's the engine. Who I am, right? The pressure, the choice, and then who I become at the end. If there's no pressure, the change is fake, right? And people chase what they want. Stories reveal what they need. I want cake, but I need sleep, right? You see what the problem is. And, using an archetype like a flashlight, it helps you see the person more clearly. It doesn't shove them into a box. So a familiar sequence teaches the audience what to expect. And then when the final beat changes, that's where that surprise actually lands, right? And this is how you tell the story. A surprise only works after we know what to expect. You set the road, you make the turn. Otherwise, we're just driving through a field and it's not exciting. And the cost, the change needs a price tag. Maybe it's time, maybe it's comfort, maybe it's ego, something. If it costs nothing, the transformation, feels like a free trial. It's not really there, right? And a great ending changes how we see the beginning, right? It's like finding the last puzzle piece and, oh my God, it's a llama, right? Like that's crazy. So, and you're zooming in and zooming out. You're zooming in and zooming out. So you go wide, you come close for the human moment, you go wide again, right? So you show the big picture, the human moment, why it matters, and then back out again. So it's like Google Maps for like emotion. These plots are maps, right? They're useful until you confuse the map with the actual road. Real stories get messy, right? So when you tell your story, include all the bad stuff. Don't start by asking which plot should I use. Start with what feeling do I need them to feel? Then you find examples that create it, right? You use the map, don't marry the map. If the label helps you choose a story, great. If you spend 20 minutes arguing whether it's technically plot 3B, the customer's already left, right? So just pay attention to the feeling and how you're expressing that feeling in the story. So enough talking about the hallway. Let's open door number 1. Door number 1 is overcoming the monster. So door 1, beat the monster. The promise is courage. So it's nothing is scary. It's more like, yep, scary. I'm going anyways. Okay. So there's a threat. You get ready. You face it. You win. And if you skip the training, the win feels lucky. If you skip the fight, we just watch someone pack a bag and move from point A to point B. It's not exciting, right? And if you look at it, take Jaws, right? Giant shark, very bad beach day. Or David and Goliath, tiny hero, big problem. Different monsters, same promise. The scary thing is bigger than you, and you face it anyways. Okay? In business, make the monster the problem, not a person. right? A bad process is monster. Broken system, monster. Dave from accounting, maybe not the monster, right? Door number 2 is rags to riches. And the promise in this one is hope. Again, you feel the feeling. If the feeling that you want them to feel is hope, this is the one you use. So where you start does not have to be where you finish. I'll say it again. Where you start doesn't have to be where you finish. So you start low, you get a chance, you grow, you get knocked down, and then you rise again. It's a staircase, not an elevator, right? Show the steps, especially the setback, especially the failure and the getting back on the horse part. Like this is where the hope part kicks in. Okay, Cinderella and Rocky look nothing alike. One has a glass slipper, the other one has boxing gloves, but it's the same promise, right? Where you start does not have to be where you finish. That is hope. Okay. Great for origin stories. Just show the hard part too, right? If we only see the shiny ending, it feels like a teeth for, like it feels like an ad for like teeth whitening. It's not great, right? So you gotta show the up and the down and the back up again. That's really important for selling hope. Door 3 is the quest. So the promise is purpose. We're going somewhere that matters, and we need a team. Usually a team, right? So there's the you get the call, you build a team. You have the mess, you reach the goal, and when you come back, everyone's changed. It's a rare group project where everyone actually helps, right? And the go-to one of this one is Lord of the Rings, right? It makes the quest painfully obvious. Mountain, ring, impossible road. The ring is the destination. The real story is, what is the group willing to carry and sacrifice to get there, right? So use this for missions and movements. If the treasure is just your logo, it's not gonna cut it, right? That's just a commercial, right? It's got to be missions and movements behind the quest. Door number 4, voyage and return. So the promise is discovery. You leave home, you enter weirdness, and then you come back smarter, right? So you leave, you get lost, it's strange, you figure it out, you escape, you return, and you're wiser, right? And that's the story archetype. The trip should change more than just your photos in your phone, right? And so if you look at this, Alice in Wonderland, The Wizard of Oz, or different worlds, same job. You leave normal, you enter weirdness, right? You learn something home could never teach you. And it's great for education and great for new ideas. So novelty, though, needs a lesson. Otherwise, it's just weird, right? So it can't just be weird. It has to have a lesson attached to it. Otherwise, there's no point to the story as opposed to, hey, want to hear something cool. If there's no lesson, there's no payoff, right? Door number 5 is comedy. So the promise is belonging. Okay, people crash into each other, figure things out, and somehow end up together, right? So the comedy architecture is there's confusion, there's a collision, there's recognition, and then at last there's harmony, right? Comedy is like a tangled headphone cable, and you finally get it loose, and there you go, right? Confusion, collision, recognition, harmony. And remember that the joke gets the laugh, but the relationship, that part at the end where there's harmony, that's what gets the heart. So if you just tell the joke without the harmony part, you're missing the beat. Use the comedy to make hard things feel human, but if everybody laughs and nobody understands, the joke ate the presentation. It's not strong enough at the end. Door number 6 is tragedy. So the promise is a warning. We watch one bad choice, invite 5 more bad choices to the party. And so you're looking at ambition, then the flaw, then the fall, then ruin, right? So tragedy is like a row of dominoes with a receipt attached. Okay, it's Romeo and Juliet, like the poison, the dagger. What happens when nobody double checks the group chat, right? We watch their crash so we could spot the danger before it becomes our crash, right? And use tragedy to show risk, but don't make the person look stupid. Okay, the second we feel smug, we don't learn anything. We stop learning. So door number 7 is called rebirth. The promise is redemption, right? The old version ends, the person gets another shot. And so, things go bad, everything falls apart, a new choice appears, and then rebirth, renewal. So rebirth is not a fresh coat of paint. You just paint over it. It's a whole new foundation. It's got to be that whole new foundation behind it. Otherwise, you don't get that same level of impact. And so there's 7 plots here, but 1 fingerprint. The structure can repeat. Your truth, your details, and your personality are what makes the story yours at the end of the day. So you start with the point, you decide what they're going to feel, then you choose the plot that creates that feeling. Okay, so it's point, then feeling, then plot. One more tool, and this is where it gets fun. The 7 basic plots describe what kind of story this is. This is called the hero's journey. You've all heard of this one before, and it describes how somebody moves through it. It leaves the familiar, face the hard thing, return different. It's the hero's journey plus like the voyage plus, right? So you can moosh a couple of these things together. So what I want to show you is, Luke Skywalker starts off in the ordinary world. Aunt, uncle, dust, chores, 2 sons, 0 fun. Harry Potter starts in the ordinary world. Aunt, uncle, cupboard, chores, 1 staircase, also 0 fun, right? The funny thing is these 2 stories are the same archetype. They get the call, they get the message, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? I couldn't use the Princess Leia thing because the copyright. So, and then, Harry gets a mysterious message, but it's a bunch of owls and a bunch of magic letters flying into his house, right? You guys remember that story. Luke gets the answer. Every future hero loves to hear, the uncle's like, nope, you don't get to go, you're staying here. Harry gets the same answer, same uncle, different mustache. And what happens is that the mentor, a bearded wizard, tells Luke the truth and hands him a blue lightsaber, right? There's that. And then, a giant bearded wizard tells Harry the truth and points him, toward a wand. Same job, better pocket storage. And, it's the same kind of structure. Like, this is the exact same story. Luke crosses the threshold through a sketchy spaceport, leaves on a fancy spaceship. Harry crosses the threshold through a brick wall and leaves on a train. Remember, he walks to the wall, platform, 7.5? And then, the allies and trials, Luke gets Leia, Han, Chewie, R2-D2, C-3PO, and a moon-sized problem, right? Nobody survives the hero's journey alone. Every hero needs, a princess, a smuggler, a walking carpet, and 2 robots, right? On the Harry side, Harry gets Ron, Hermione, and a bad guy renting space on some guy's head, right? If you remember the story, it's on the back of some guy's head. Then the ordeal, right? Luke enters the Death Star, has to become more than the farm kid that he was. And if you look at Harry goes under the school, faces Voldemort, and has to become more than the cupboard kid that he was, right? If you look at the architecture, it's different worlds and same transformation, right? That is the hero's journey. Once you see the frame, you start seeing it everywhere. And so yes, those frameworks give you a ticket into people's attention, but that power needs one rule, and it's agency, not manipulation. Okay, good selling helps people make a real choice. That's important. I'll say it again. Good selling helps people make a real choice. What does that sound like inside like a business story? It could be like an honest origin. I was solving my own problem. I had this problem. I tried to fix it. You probably have this exact same problem as well. And this is the putting it together. This is another archetype, like a mini archetype within the archetypes called us versus them, right? And it further cements it by saying, if you build the bridge, I started where you are, right? Now the audience knows. You remember where the starting line is. You're not shouting at them from the finish line. You remember what it felt like to be in their shoes, right? And the opponent, maybe it's the broken system, not another person. Now everybody can fight this problem together, right? And then show the strange result that changed the question, Curiosity begins with the data says, hey, come look at this. And you really have to admit what the mistake cost, right? People, perfect. If you're perfect, you're suspicious, right? It doesn't feel right. So honest people, who learned something are useful. Like you were here, you screwed up. This is what you learned. This is what you're offering out there, so people don't make the same mistakes. And you really got to make sure that the customer is the one that crosses the finish line, right? Your product can help. It doesn't need to grab the trophy and make a speech. You don't have to be the most important thing in the architecture. Like the customer is the most important thing in the architecture. So you want to give them a map and one clear next step. You don't need to remove every risk. Just stop hiding the road, right? And, the real transformation means that the old identity cannot continue. It's not a new logo. It's a real change in how the behavioral results, right? And here's the trap. After telling all of this, the speaker walks back into the spotlight and forgets who the story is for. Remember, you are not the hero in this. You are not the hero. The customer is the hero. So you got to step out of the spotlight and be the guide, right? Stand beside the hero and point towards the bridge, right? You are the mentor. You're the weird bearded wizard in this scenario. Step out of the spotlight, be the guide, and guide your customer to that finish line. And then they'll feel that transformation. They'll feel that story deeper in their bones, right? If you just tell it, there's no feel to it, right? And so remember, a story has to do something. Okay, it's not for the speaker, it's for the audience. It's not for the speaker, it's for the audience. And you put them in the spotlight. They should be able to see themselves moving along the path, right? And a good story moves them from an emotion to a reflection to understanding to a choice. And if you set it up properly, you are the choice that they're going to make, right? So emotion gets the attention, reflection makes it personal, understanding gives it real meaning, okay? So connect where they are now to an open door, right? And a map and something worth carrying home, because, heroes don't know that they're inside a story. And the hilarious thing is, neither did you, okay? You've been inside the hero's journey this whole time. This whole presentation has been the structure. So this was your ordinary world, stories, examples, ideas, no simple map from choosing between them. Then came the call. There's 7 basic plots. I just taught you that. Pick the one your point needs. Maybe part of you refused, but my business is different. Everyone says that, right? Stories are fluffy. I don't have time. That's all fair, right? But you cross the threshold. You open the 7 doors. You figure out which plots are for different purposes, right? And where the wrong plot creates a false fit, then it doesn't work, right? But, we stress tested the frame with Star Wars and Harry Potter, right? Different worlds, same journey. The framework moved beyond information. It's feel, then believe, then do. Feel, then believe, then do. And now the road comes back to the empty chair, to the audience, and the next story you need to tell, right? And the resurrection is not becoming a storyteller. You already were one. It's learning to choose which structure on purpose. And this helps you tell your stories a lot better, right? So I never really taught you storytelling. I just told you one. And the structure did the teaching, right? Every story returns to where it began, but the person does not. They come back carrying something new. And that's the point. You leave with the torch. Then you hand it to somebody else. Okay. Remember, in the storytelling sales structure, you're the guide, right? You're the mentor, right? Every business has a story. The question is yours worth retelling?